that had the zeros.
They're still missing shit ton of people.
It's more than 1,000, but the list only had 5,900.
Oh, so it's just barely more than 1,000.
Yeah.
It's by the zeros.
If we change the student file, they'll duplicate.
Yes.
I don't know what to do.
I mean, they'll
Is it still
duplicate.
wrong?
They won't duplicate if you.
Yeah, they will. If
They
their
won't
If
ID
you
be
take
changed
away
their
a
ID.
0, it'll add like those 1,000 people.
Yeah, if you change your ID, yeah. What's wrong?
Ugh.
What's wrong?
So some of the IDs had leading zeros, some of the IDs didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
said-
so by the time we recognized it, we created the wrong people. I mean, I think this pi above is early enough. We could just delete everybody and start again.
I say we fucking do that.
They haven't done anything yet.
Let's get SQL going. Delete from institution
I don't know
everything.
if that's a good idea.
I think
you should take this out of your
That destroy all.
I think it's a freaking good idea.
Uh,
Just because.
I don't know. If you guys hit the wrong institution,
Yeah, I don't think we should take it.
I know how to do it, right?
So wait,
Well, Fence still didn't show up at all.
Yeah, I know. It's fucked up.
Well, Fence won't show up. if
guys,
no
we're
one's-
on YouTube right now. Don't get me kicked off here with your language.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry,
Bananas.
YouTube.
All right, but I put the URL in Slack, so we'll try to videotape these things so you guys can go back and look at them in the future.
Love that.
Love it. All right. SQL. So Anna had a query that she wanted to run today that requires what we would call a subquery. Subqueries are queries that you can run. Generally, they're in your where clause, so they're a way of filtering data down based on the results of another query. So, for example, if we wanted to say, we could say select star from students where the ID from our student table is in select student ID from audience students where audience ID equals 1. Okay. So what we're doing is we're returning student ID. So really what we're doing is we're saying if the ID is in this list of student IDs, which you were getting back by saying select student ID from audience students where the audience ID is 1. So we're going to return a list of the student IDs from the audience students table where the audience ID is 1. It's going to give us back all of our students who are in audience 1. And then we're going to see if our ID is in that list. Okay. So for each student in the table, we're going to go through and we're going to see if the student ID exists in the list for that audience.
What ID?
This-
Like, what's that for? Is that just like the thing of ID,
okay,
or is
okay.
that
Let's
like
just back up. What does this mean?
where an ID is 1?
Okay. What does this mean?
I don't know.
Where an ID is 1 or 2. Okay. So now, instead of writing the list explicitly, I'm going to write a query to get the list.
Oh.
Okay. So this is where ID is 1 or 2 or 3. Okay. But I don't want to write 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 9 or 10 or 15,000 times, right? I want to get back all the student IDs that are in a particular audience.
Can you just do that from audience students?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to write select star from audience. I'm sorry. Select, you have to tell it explicitly what you want the list to be made up of.
Star doesn't work there.
Star doesn't work there because star is going to return all of the things,
Yeah.
and so it's not going to match. Select student ID from audience students where audience ID is 1.
So you don't have to join in the audience students table.
No, that's the other way we would do this, right? And the way that we've been doing it, we would say select star from students, or join or whatever,
Audience students.
audience students on students.id equals audience students dot student ID. And then we could say where audience students dot ID equals 1. Okay, that should give us back the same result set.
This join is the same thing as that sub select.
It'll give us back the same result set, right? So
That's the same thing.
it's not the same thing. So this is saying select all the. So we're doing an inner join. Inner join means that there's an intersection that happens between the two tables, where our student ID matches our audience student ID. So we're joining the two tables like we normally would in any join that we do, and then we're saying where the audience students dot. Well, really, audience ID is 1, right? So that's going to give us back just the students who are in the audience students table with an audience ID of 1. There. So that's what we normally do. But what Anna is trying to accomplish is she wants to be able to say where the students are in one audience and the students are not in another audience. And so it becomes difficult to figure that out with inner joins, with joins in general, because you're continuing to add and like you want to add and subtract.
Mm-hmm.
It is simpler to be able to do something like select students where student ID is in some list and student ID is not in some other list. So like what would that give us back?
Students who are in the audience. 2, 3.
So let's just look at this query. Right, we're saying we're not doing any audiences yet. This is a simplified version. So it says select star from students where here. Let's start with this. What does that say?
Students with the ID of 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, students with the ID of 1, 2, or 3. Right. So it's in the list. In means in the list. So if the student ID exists in this list, then give them back to us. So in our case, we're going to get back the students who have an ID of 1, 2, or 3. Oh, sorry, ID of 1, 2, or 3. Which is probably nobody, but maybe. I mean, it's limited to 3. The most we could get is 3, right? Because we have 3 IDs in primary keys. Yeah. So that we do have somebody who has an ID of 1. Okay. I'm sure we could pick other numbers that would give us something that works. But I have no idea what they would be.
Try 900.
Alright, so this is going to give us back all of our students who have an ID of 1 or 2 or 3 or 500 or 507 or 603 or 900. Okay, 900.
That's me, I know it.
That's why you knew that?
Yeah.
From PCC.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody know another ID?
I mean, I could send you a bunch right now.
Anna 1, 2, 3 DP. Is this an
No,
extra
but that's
student ID?
no.
No.
Here's one.
No, okay. Well, I got it. So I just wanted 3 examples. 900. There. So it's going to give us back these 3 students. Everybody gets why that's happening? Just an in clause. We're just saying if it's anywhere in that list. Okay. Now I want to say and the ID is not in. You see what's happening? Okay. So why would you want to do that? Why would you not just write in 1, 900 if that's all you cared about? Well, this gets to like the way that this is how we do exclusion audiences, for example. So we say, let's see, give me back all of the students who are in the audience of such and such, but that their student ID is not in the audience of some other thing. Okay. And the way that you do this with subqueries is you say, instead of writing the list explicitly, I want to return a list from another query. So I'm just going to return the query that gives me back the student IDs that I care about. So if I do select star from audience students where audience ID is 1. So this is going to return, just like I had 1, 900, 9263. It's going to return, sorry, not star, student ID. It's going to return the student IDs, a list of them, from audience students table where the audience ID is 1. You see that? So we can say that's the in clause, and we can look at what. That's nobody. I don't know what audience is.
Try 1981. Audience ID?
Mm-hmm.
Try 302305.
All right, so there's the students that are in that audience. But we want to find, so it only has 4, but we want to find that minus the ones who are in some other audience. Okay, so this list comes back as a comma separated thing when we write the subquery this way. And then we want to say, and the audience ID is not so like let's just start with this. What do you think this is going to give us back? No one. Why no one?
Because audiences are the same. So we're saying who are in this audience and not in this audience.
Yep, who are in this audience and who are not in the same audience. Okay, so we're going to get back nobody. What's the command shift enter? How do I make this pretty?
Shift L.
All right.
In Spanish, pretty easily still. That's how I remember. So,
What?
if that's helpful to anybody else.
CT.
Yeah, we always actually write this. Okay, so when you see it returns nothing. So all you have to do now is what's the audience that you care about it being in, and then what's the audience you care about it not being in, and then there's your results.
Okay.
So is that
Yes. Mine is a little complicated
okay?
because of a couple of things. Can
Okay.
I show you?
Yep.
Okay, so this last tile is the one I'm looking at. So basically, students texted a keyword and they got an auto response. And I did this because I wasn't really sure how to get a list of students who texted yes or no to this specific campaign. So I made this by if they got the message that they would have gotten if they texted yes, I had that say yes. And if they didn't, I had it say no. And then I excluded temporarily.
Okay. So then you just want to add that additional and are in this audience and are not in that audience?
Well, I need to know for both of these audiences. Like, there's an audience for enrolled and there's an audience for deposited, and ideally I want to add a field of like, are they in enrolled and are they in deposited?
You want them to be in both?
No, I want to know which one they're in if either.
Oh.
Isn't that complicated? Or I guess I could just make 2 tiles.
I mean, that's
one.
well. So you can just do.
I tried to do an outer join because I thought that
You don't want to do an
no.
outer join because that'll give you everything. You want to do a left join
Okay.
where we're starting from. Where's your actual from?
This is what I tried to do, but it didn't work. So I tried to do like a case if they were in the audience, this ID, I wanted it to say enrolled, and if they were in this audience, it would say deposited. This didn't do it.
No, that won't work.
Okay.
Um, you might be able to. Let me try something.
But I guess all I really need to know is who from this list moved into the enrolled audience. So I guess I could just make a separate tile and do just what we just did, like is in enrolled, is not in funded for this same query.
Yeah. So what do you really? So I think we can solve any of these problems. But what do you really want to end up with?
What I really want to do is have a list of people who replied, who got an auto response and then moved into the enrolled audience,
Who moved in the enroll?
or who are now in the enrolled audience like today.
Yeah. So well, in that case, why do you care about the other audience?
I guess I don't. Like, if they're not in enrolled, they are in deposited. So I was just trying to do, like, one or the other. But I guess we only really care if they're in enrolled.
Yeah, which that one's easy enough because then you can just you can left join. So let's just start with that. After Yeah.
Okay.
so then in your from statement you can left join. On line
Nice
13.
students. So after the inner join.
Yeah.
Audience students.
Yep.
And would it be, let's see,
On
audience students. External student ID. Would that be the key?
no, it's student ID.
Okay. And then I'm joining
Students.
so students.id. Okay.
And then you can, I think, even in the on say, and audience students dot audience ID equals, or in the where. So there's a difference though.
To grab the ID.
So this is going to filter your list down to just the people who are in that audience. Is that what you want, or?
That would work,
Yeah,
but ideally
you do want to see everyone. Yeah, so if you want to do that, then you just have to move that where clause to the on clause.
Thank you.
Where are there two items?
Okay, so this is audience ID. Okay.
So you can write the rest of it. So equals. Okay, now copy that and line 20, and you will put it on line 14 at the end.
Okay. Okay.
Try to clean that up though, because I don't know if. I don't think you have to highlight it. It just does it. Okay, yeah, try that. You just need to do students.external student ID.
Okay.
On line 4.
I didn't add a field, but that's probably because I didn't.
Yeah, you just have to do like add another field. For now, just do like audience students.id. You can even do audience students.star. Just do .star. We'll just see everything. Yeah, so there none of those people are in.
None of these people are in enrolled.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that wasn't the news I was looking for, but that's what I wanted to pull.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it could just be that they haven't updated it yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when they actually update.
It's not
That's one of the
many
problems
people
with.
in the enrolled audience anyway. I mean, deposits or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'll use this.
So then you can make a case statement of whether the audience student ID is null. So if it's
Okay.
null, then no. If it is not null, then it's yes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So if I wanted to put that into one that actually might have some results. Like if I wanted to put it into one of these, which might actually have some results, I could do the same thing and just add. This is just an older campaign, so hopefully some of these people are enrolled. But we could just add that as well.
The left join with the and clause being.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna try to do that. Should I stop casting? Or should we keep working on this?
No, that's fine. So yeah, but what's interesting, right? Like, so the difference here is that in the on clause, you're saying I want to left join the table on this, and if it's null or not, I don't care because it's a left join.
Still show.
And so if it's empty on the right, I don't care. I want to show it. But when you do it in the where clause, it's saying filter my final list after I've done all my joins down based on these filters that I'm setting. So because the audience ID that you put in does not equal null, even though we did a left join, all of those instances where the audience ID is null would be removed because they don't equal the ID that you put in. Does that make sense? Because the number does not equal null.
Mm.
So you can do it in the and clause to get that result.
Yeah, see, it's like you said last week. It's really not hard to write SQL, but it's hard to think about which tables you want where and what data you want to get and how you get it.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so these people are in.
Yeah, so now you can make your case statement based on the audience students.audience ID.
Okay, so instead of doing this, I should do case when. So what would I like?
When audience students dot audience ID or just ID really, either one. They're both.
Is null.
Yeah.
Then like tell it to say something.
Then say no.
Should I put in quotes?
Not enrolled or whatever. Yeah, in quotes. Yeah. And then else enrolled.
Okay.
And then if you run that, it should just say. Student looks like it got cut. So, let's scroll down. Oh, you need an end after else.
Oh, and
Yeah. Well, if you do something like that, you could just do yes and no probably, but that's fine.
oh, so no. Okay, great. So nice format.
Yeah, and then you
Okay.
could sort it by that if
It's
you
a
want.
lot of duplicates. Or maybe just at the bottom. You scroll all the way down.
I mean, you can do the duplicate student IDs. Just do a group.
Because they
And
just
they
say
respond.
two things.
Oh,
They're two
okay.
different
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
There's
I mean, you
some
could do
instead
a
that
group
didn't
by the
work,
student ID
like
if you
on
wanted.
each
But
Yeah. So. Yeah, I should probably do this on. I have one table that's just the unique students. I should probably put that in there instead of here. Okay. Cool.
yeah, you can do. You should be able to do whatever you want. Yeah, now.
Okay. Is this how you do it?
Yeah, order by
Order.
in enrolled audience. So yeah, so you whenever you're naming things like that,
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing whenever you do an as, really, what you want to do is instead of putting it in quotes, I mean, you can, it's fine. You can just use underscores though, because when you go to create the actual table on the dashboard, Periscope converts underscored words to regular readable words.
Okay. Like this.
It's more in between. So
in between these.
getting rid of the spaces.
Got it.
And then you need to use that again down below. But you'll see when it goes onto the dashboard, it's just taken care of. And this is just a better practice for how to write the query. So it doesn't show up there, but if you look at the preview of the actual thing, it'll be, see how it takes them away. Yeah.
Danny's gonna have the best.
All right.
Alright.
So yeah, I mean that's a fairly advanced topic. Both of these, both doing joins where you're doing an and with an explicit number, an ID there, and the subquery concept, they're both relatively advanced concepts. incredibly useful, obviously, for these types of things. When you need help with this type of stuff, where are you going to?
I look at dashboards that I think
Are going to be useful.
And
Okay.
then I see what they're doing.
Okay, yeah. You guys are starting to advance past that. You're actually doing real things and relatively complicated things. Your best resource. Yeah. Your best resource is Google.
Okay.
So if you just type like MySQL, how do I whatever, that's your best bet. What you're looking for most of the time is, it'll probably come up pretty quickly. The reference manual is oftentimes not particularly useful. So let's say like MySQL, how do I?
Do you guys mind switching casting?
Oh. How do I show all of one table and no if in other table? And like when you search for something like that, the first thing that usually comes up is a Stack Overflow article. Stack Overflow is like the place to go for development questions. It's really great. I'll show you why that's the case. But Google is the best way to search Stack Overflow. So just search for whatever you're looking for, and ideally it comes up at the top. A lot of the questions that you're going to have are going to be things that you can go here for. So this is important when you're reading Stack Overflow articles. You'll have a question at the top that's trying to explain what they're looking for. You'll have some like information about exactly what they're trying to do. So somebody wrote this question and they said, this is my situation exactly. It's the second piece. So this is your question, and then you start to get into answers as you go down. The answers are upvoted and downvoted, but they can only be upvoted and downvoted by people who have previously been upvoted and downvoted themselves. So there's additional credibility to these answers as opposed to just reading it somewhere else on the web. But you can frequently just sort of copy and paste this and start just changing it from here. Okay, so it's this is the place you want to be when you're looking up things. There's a couple other resources. W3 Schools has some MySQL tutorials. Where is it? Learn SQL. So I'll drop that. Dev 200. And then there used to be a thing that I really liked, but I think they bought by Pluralsight. But I think they have some free stuff. Nope. Yeah, if you guys want this, though, it's probably worth it. The nice thing about it, let me see if I can.
Get a free trial.
Did you see that?
I would go back on that
What do you
page.
think they're at, 270?
Like under the get started for monthly thing, just start free trial.
Because I created one for
Use mine.
got this. I'll get you guys yet. I don't know if that's right.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah. I mean, you can't see anything. Shoot.
We can do this.
Anyway, it's worth it. Do it, and we'll pay for it, right? Like, just get it and use it. It's video training as well as some like tutorial stuff where you can actually write some code. But if you watch it, they're generally relatively short videos that you can watch that help you walk through how to do different types of MySQL. And just going through an entire course on MySQL, you'll find all kinds of things that are like, oh, that's how you do that, and start to implement them. Okay. It's really great, like early on development place to go. As you become more comfortable, you're going to spend a lot more time on Stack Overflow. The hardest thing in a developer's job is actually knowing enough to know the right terms to be able to Google to find the answer that you're looking for. And that's really all you're trying to figure out. Once you can figure out those terms, you can search for it in Google, and Stack Overflow will give you back the results that you actually want. Okay. But like you saw when I was writing out my Google thing, I had to know things like join, and I'm trying to do a left join, and I want to be able to see the things even if they're empty or in null state. Right? Null, like knowing those types of terms will help your query.
This might be a Periscope question instead of a
Mm-hmm.
SQL question. On the
Also.
QA drip tables, we have a sum at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
How you do a sum?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that in just a second. Also, Periscope's docs are relatively good. So if you're looking for like, how do I do a specific thing in Periscope, is supposed to go. All right, so you want to do a sum. So it is a MySQL thing, but Angela might be doing a sum based on the results of two other things, like two other charts.
I should do it on that table. But I think that would be.
So here, like,
useful in a couple of places.
but I can do. You can just do the sum of, like, if I sum the IDs of the first 10 students.
Okay.
Some really absurdly large number.
Yeah, just fix it any time.
You could do count, maybe. Yeah, is that something?
Yeah.
Like the count of how many students are in each of those audiences or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
same
in
thing.
this table that we were just looking at, could I, or in this table that we were just looking at, could I put a count of the yes at the bottom and a count of the no?
Mhm.
Is that too?
I think so.
Okay.
So,
Would I just do select yes and no?
oh, I see. Because you're trying to do a count at the bottom of the table.
Like an
That
overall
is
count.
probably
A
a
SQL thing. I mean,
yeah.
a Periscope thing.
So here we might be able to figure that out though. So here's all of our students, and then if we want to. Oh, that's fun. I know she does do this sometimes.
Yeah, Ben has done
Penda.
that. Oh, I think I use
Statistics.
statistics.
But that, I mean, that shows it to you here, but this is information about like the data that you have been playing with. I guess it is. There you go. Oh no, that's just doing a pivot. Conditional formatting. Well, Periscope total row. Oh, that's interesting. That's So you could follow the way that they do it. It's a little crazy. But essentially, they're unioning two result sets together. So they do their initial query. So it says with user source as, and in there they're selecting one thing. So users by source is, what the heck is going on?
Click on a picture.
Yes, but I would not have expected it to do that. All right. So here, is it this one? Yeah. So here they're saying with users by source, which they're creating a variable basically, which is the result of select created at month source count from users grouping by 1 and 2, and then they create a second query that they're calling total row, where they select the total number of things that exist, source, sum numbers. So they're creating the first query, which is each row, and then the second query, which is the total number, and then they union the first one with the second one.
Okay.
And so what that does is this says, show me the query for each row first, and then show me the query for the last one. So the way that what they're essentially doing is, you understand we've already done where we do the yes/no version, right? So if you did another one where you just got the sum, well, that won't work though for your situation because you want yes and no to show up. No, you could create another query that does a group by an account.
Yeah.
There's a sub query, sub select.
Just a regular. If you put yours back up there,
Yeah.
Anna.
So I got this, I did what we just did in this table. So now I have the students, the unique students who answered with an auto response, and then whether they moved into the enrolled audience or not. So my question was, instead of just kind of counting how many were yes and how many were no, how to get it to tell me. If I do statistics, I mean, this is kind of what I'm looking for, but that's just like.
But you can't show
you can't
show that to the end
table.
user. Yeah.
Could you make another tile that references that tile?
Can you click on that countdown? Count. Oh, I see. Never mind. Go to the settings that's in the upper right. Actually, close. We're gonna expand all for series. Oh no. Go to the settings tab. Try format. Click on header. Now down in color. Click on advanced. No, that's nonsense. Okay, so what you could do is group by.
I could group by yes and no and just get a count.
Yeah, so you could do and yes and whatever you name the other thing.
Yeah, I named it yes. Oh, I named it enrolled audience.
But you did it. It's right there. Yeah.
But then I'll lose all of the details.
Yes, but you could do two charts.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do one with one, and then you can just do a count of yes and no. And you can put the charts right next to each other, so you could see.
Yeah, that's what I should do.
It is a lot more complicated to do the next thing. That is where, like within SQL, you have to do crazy unions and stuff, which is what Angela used to do. I've never even done that because there's advantages that happen when you get into code, where you could like take this result set and then you could do another one and you can just put them on top of each other, so you don't have to like do crazy union queries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you copied that and created another one, then you'd be able to get it. Now you could do a drill down from going the other way, I bet.
Oh yeah, I kind of pivot.
Yeah, so there's a drill down option if you go back into the query that you had running.
Yeah, Ben has a great one. Like we can drill down into this last table.
Yeah, so you could do a drill down from the aggregated number
Mm-hmm.
to the more specific
details,
version,
yeah.
filtered on either yes or no.
Smart. Maybe I'll look at how he did this.
And that's probably closer to what you actually want to do because it's like,
Oh, he's just using a view.
yeah. So that's not really a drill down either. The drill down usually works. What happens is, so you would do your thing with your count. So it would say
Mhm.
yes, and then it would say 542. And if you click on 542, it would take you to the other chart
Mm-hmm.
that's limited to the ones who said yes. So then you get a list of students who said yes. And the benefit of that is most of the time you're just trying to get like a regular aggregate count of what's happening. And when you click down, you're looking into the details, like what's actually happening here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably how I would do that.
Okay.
It would be easier to do, like we could talk about doing that union, and we might do that in the next class, like how to do these unions. If you, instead of having one column that said yes or no, if you had two columns, one that was yes and the second one that was no, and it just had a 1 or a 0, then we could count it and put the total row at the bottom.
Yeah, it would also be helpful to do unions because right now, well, maybe you know Tucker, but I don't know how to do like something that pulls from shared prod and all of the others.
Yeah.
I usually do a separate one. Yeah, usually just do a new tile. We need like
Yeah.
another
I keep-
tool.
Like Eric keeps adding stuff to like CM dashboards, and I basically just go in behind him and copy what he does,
Yeah.
and then paste it on other different dashboards.
But I know Angela used unions for that.
She did, and we can do that. I'll show you how to do that. I, in many cases, would prefer that we just
Do
Copied
separate
it.
dashboards.
and it's just because it's a big tax on the database. No, it doesn't really matter because it's a reader. You guys can't break anything or whatever. So if you really want to do that, it's fine. It's just that it is much more of a tax on the database to do the union across databases as opposed to just creating a new chart for each one.
Is it a matter of being like less performant, or it's just okay?
Which could lead to like it not running. Right.
Yeah, well, we see that a lot, which I think they finally fixed it, but like with like some of the dashboards were taking a long time to refresh. It was messing up the daily refreshes of all the other dashboards.
Yeah.
So I had to like really decrease everything so nothing updates more than twice a day.
Okay, do you count distinct?
You might not be at the. So what you might have to do, get rid of the count for a minute. On that. Oh, you don't want to do count in enrolled audience. You want to do count ID or something.
Okay. Okay, I'll send
Like
it on
distinct
here.
student ID or something. Yeah, you might want to say distinct. You have to say, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's 1524. Say count. Oh, you can't. It has to be. Just because count is a keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I could make this a chart.
And then from there, so leave. I mean, you can do that. That's fine. And then there's under advanced settings. If you scroll to the bottom, it might have to be a table to be a drill down.
Okay.
Oh, you weren't in settings. You might be able to make it a pie chart. I don't know why it would care. And then advanced,
Oh, and then do
drill down, and then you have to go create the other one, but you click on this and then it would take it to that with the filter of this.
So I could make it.
It's like if you already have that other one.
So if I wanted it to filter this,
Do you want it to go to that, right?
yeah, like this is the students.
Yeah, so go back to the one we just created.
And then I can search for like DA auto response.
Yeah, I already named it.
DA
There you go.
auto response.
and then select column. So in enrolled.
Yeah.
Yep. Select filter.
I don't have a filter.
So you'll have to make a filter, I guess, for in enrolled audience that has
Okay.
values of yes and no.
Okay, that's good to know. And
Great.
then before I judge too far into this, I want to ask Jamie if this would actually be helpful.
Yeah, but that's probably it. If you create the filter for yes or no, it probably doesn't even have to be an enrolled audience. It just needs to be a filter that has the options of yes or
Yeah.
no. Then you click on that, and it'll bring them to either the yes, so it'll filter down to yes, or it'll filter down to no.
Okay, cool.
You might have to add that filter to the, you know how we do like where and institution equals institution in the square brackets? You might have to add a similar thing to the other query.
Yes.
So that, you see what I'm saying?
It's
So it applies the
reflecting
filter
the
that comes
filter,
over. But that should be it. That would be pretty neat. And you can do that type of thing with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot because a lot of time you just want the quick, like, how many said yes, how many said no. Generally, you don't even care who. It's not until you're trying to, like, suss out why some people said yes or no or whatever that you care about going into.
Yeah, I should probably copy something. Because then the pie chart makes more sense.
I think you can change the series names, though. If you go back up on the right-hand side, on the, like, in the menu on the right-hand side. Or maybe not. Go back to the chart information, so in the upper right. Yeah, series settings, up one. Yeah, so if you go down to where it says series,
Mm-hmm.
can you edit any of that information? Looks like, I guess not. Yeah. I thought maybe you could just change it there, but I guess not.
Okay, this is great. This is Jamie. Okay, cool.
Cool.